Ready? All right, here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right, ready? 5, 4, 3.
And now, the most trusted name in radio, serving the Treasure Coast for over 30 years, Rhett Palmer, the mayor of the airwaves.
Yeah, 32 years, you know.
Yeah, 32.
Self-appointed, of course.
It's the only way.
But they fall for it, you know. I was at the Toronto airport. This lady comes up, "Oh, honey, it's the mayor of Vero. It's the mayor of Vero." I'm like, do I tell her or not? I'm sorry, sir, but I'm not. I'm the mayor of the airwaves. And, you know, the mayor of the airwaves. I'm the mayor of nothing.
I'll sign it. I'll sign any bill you send me.
Now, these guys have written this book called Hijacked Our Republic, Unless We Can Save It. And we are at a crisis point, and I want to welcome you both. You both have MBAs. Where's your MBA from?
Wharton.
Wharton. That's pretty impressive. You and Trump. Did you get to meet Trump when you were there?
No.
Was he there when you were there?
No.
Or is he older than you?
A little bit older.
How old are you?
I am 74.
Okay, I'm 72 next week. And you went to where?
I went to University of Chicago, Booth School.
Okay, great. Impressive. And you got your degree in numbers?
Accounting, yeah.
Accounting.
Yep, accounting, finance.
And then got into investments.
Investments, and then financial planning. Did a lot of work with IMG, did sports figures and so forth.
Great. Now, where are you from originally?
Originally Cleveland, Ohio.
Cleveland, Ohio?
Chicago.
Chicago. So how did you two find Vero Beach in retirement?
It was in retirement from the airline business that I was in for all the years.
So you were captain for American.
Yeah, for a number of years. We went from living in Chicago to building a house in Atlanta. We're there for 16 years. Not a domicile for American. And then we came down to Sarasota for 15 years. And then Marcia's parents we built a house that included an in-law suite. So when they moved down to Florida, we felt we had to go and help them out. And so we did that, and they passed away, and Marcia always wanted to come over to Vero, so that's what we did.
Well, you know, I had my worst car accident ever over in the traffic over there is crazy.
Yeah.
It's great. I love. But
Getting
what's the circle? St. Armand's.
St. Armand's Circle.
Armand's.
Yeah.
that's
The
where we
Columbia restaurant.
Yes.
And I just saw a video online. You know, you get a shiver in the dock. It's raining in the park. But meantime, you know that guy, the Dire Straits. This kid's out on this park. He's there in the circle, and everybody's got a crowd around him. He's playing it. And they show there's Mark Knopfler from Dire Straits standing right there as an old guy. You wouldn't know it. That was him.
No kidding.
Is that totally cool?
Oh, that is.
You know, in Florida, you never know who you're standing next to.
No.
You know. And a lot of the people, you know, we have a lot of celebrities that have come on the show locally, but then there's a lot that talk to my wife with our Vero's Voice magazine, and they say, "Oh, we listen to Rhett or whatever," but no, I don't want. We don't want to come on the show. They don't want to break their anonymity. They just, you know. Yeah, because I remember Tim the Toolman his mom and aunt used to listen to my show. We're walking down Ocean Drive together. They invited me to some parties and stuff, and they said, "Hey," I said, "Certainly." He said, "Never watch out when you give up your anonymity because you can never put it back in the bag." And I said, "Well, sure, he can put on a fake mustache." She said, "No, they recognize you," and that is true. I don't know how people do it, but it's great to have you guys. This is a very, very. We're just getting to know each other, folks, and I'm glad to have these gentlemen here, and I'm glad they cared enough to do this in the retirement. This is not put out. You know, 97% of all books don't make any money anyway, but they lead to hopefully speaking engagements. But our country has been hijacked. Okay, so what's the genesis of this project? Now we have Peter Calfee, right?
Right here. Right here.
Oh, Peter, you're Peter. And we have J. Kevin Dolan.
Right.
And hopefully soon they're going to have their own podcast, and we'll help build up their numbers across the United States, which will lead to hopefully other speaking engagements, give you credibility, and open the doors. So you guys are coming at this like a patriotic evangelist.
Well, that was the origination. We actually met. A friend of mine said, "Let's go." We're members over at Quail Club, so a friend of mine said, "Let's go to the Veterans Day luncheon." We went
3 years ago.
3 years ago. Peter and I sat next to each other, and then from that conversation evolved, and we said, you know, we ought to write something, and it's all about giving back. It wasn't to be a commercial success. No. The purpose of writing a book was to identify and create a background and information that help people construct the logic to hopefully deal with real problems.
And we developed an idea from Kevin that was really critical thinking is eliminated from our national discourse. Nobody's thinking critically at all. Everybody's thinking short term. What's in it for me? Nobody cares about the republic. Nobody cares about long term. And that spread to.
I don't know about nobody, but a lot of people.
True.
That's
Good point.
But good,
yeah.
all good
Excellent.
men need do to see evil prevail is nothing.
Right.
That's correct. That's quotes in the book.
Who said that? I forget. Doesn't really matter. Don't look it up now.
So well, I think. Or,
Yeah.
no, Cicero.
But all
maybe.
good men
Cicero.
do to see evil prevail is nothing. So I applaud you for wanting to do this early in your retirements, obviously, right?
And we thought about hijacked and what had been hijacked and what are the important critical elements that could lead to a republic being saved, ours, or disappeared like most of
Okay,
the historical.
let's differentiate two things: democracy and a republic. Democratic. Okay.
That's a very good question. The democracy, you can have the tyranny of the majority because it's sheer plurality. In a republic, you put in the founding fathers were brilliant in putting in additional provisions that said we can't get rid of minority interests, and we need to be able to have everybody have a voice, so it's not a flyover country. So when they went to the electoral college, it gave representation in terms of the votes or the number of congressmen and senators. You add those up, and that gives you the number of electors. And in that process, that makes all of the states somewhat important, especially if there's close in terms of competition. And so that avoiding the tyranny of the majority is a huge issue that people don't seem to.
Switzerland is a democracy. 26 cantons. They get together. They all agree in the majority. We don't want minarets.
Why does it work there?
It works
Small.
there. Small, homogenous.
Now, Hitler didn't invade them because of the mountains, because they're in the middle of the mountains. Is that it, or because everybody was armed?
Keep going. Yeah, those two reasons. He needed their ability to transfer funds. They were access points to Western economies and so forth. All of that put together. But the mountains, in fact, there were plans, if you read the books, there were plans to give up the flatlands and go into the mountains to survive as a country. The point we highlight is that it's a democracy. There is no republic representation. It's each canton votes, plurality, as Kevin says, done. You win, no more minarets. They had 4 built, no more minarets. Decided. No Congress, no Senate, no House, no President, no Supreme Court. We have a representation government. House, Senate, tricameral, legislative, judicial, and
Checks and balances.
Yeah, the checks
The
and
only
balances.
thing about Switzerland is that I had a young lady who was a massage therapist maybe 4 years ago, up in Bar Harbor, Maine. In the summer, I was up there, and she said both her parents were very successful surgeons, and she said 80% of their pay though goes back into the country.
Yeah.
So and if you've been to Norway,
Yes.
they actually hide their wealth. Like if you find somebody very wealthy, they'll build a house on a little island and build all kinds of trees, but they're embarrassed by being opulent.
Correct.
Yes.
So there's but some of these places are working, but they're smaller. How will we save this republic here? How will we save? Because this is the book called Hijacked Our Republic. Our republic, unless we can save it.
The chapters kind of lay it out, but the critical thing is understanding that we're here for a nanosecond. It's next generation is always the most important, as Reagan said. You're one generation from complete failure of the republic. So the key in this entire process, and it has been for the life of the republic, is education. But what is education? Well, it's the ability to think, and it's critical thinking. And so then what are the characteristics and information that goes into critical thinking? And education that's the basis so that we can talk about anything. But then there's value systems. Well, that's religion, faith, and values. And then there's history. Mankind has done things forever. So you look back and you find out many people have had some levels of success and they've had some levels of failure. And it's understanding all of the success and failure that allows you to begin thinking about, hey, we've got a problem and we want to solve a problem and we think this might be a good solution. But if you're not careful, you're going to repeat the mistake of the historical mistake.
And there are eternal truths that are 4,000 years old, 5,000, 3,000, 1,000. There is a continuity of constancy of things that have worked before that continue to work
Truth
today.
is not relative.
That's correct. And you don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. This time it's different,
But
Rhett.
you are dealing. What about dealing with stupid people though? Because I mean, I'll ask God someday. I don't know if you believe in Jesus. I became a follower of Jesus when I was 29. Had a miraculous encounter with him. But I wonder. I feel first of all I feel bad because I see some people that I came up. I had a wealthy childhood. Then I lived in the ghetto as a struggling songwriter till I was 34. I come down here and have more success than I could ever dream of. So I've been all over, and now back down again to the meat on the bone because of the COVID and stuff really hurt us. I don't care. I'm having a good time, but I've had this opportunity. My father was an attorney, so I must be fairly intelligent. But for the people that maybe don't have us, what do you do with them? And then you hear the stuff that's going on today, and you go, some of the people really scare me. I mean. For instance, you got homosexuals who are out there parading around for the Palestinians. We go to Palestine here, man. They're going to put you up on a rooftop and kick your butt off. At least we're here. We say as Christians, we say we hate your sin. We believe homosexuality is an abomination, but we're not going to judge you. That's up to God. We're here to love you, and that's what we're. And so we hate the sin, but love the person.
Hence, our premise is that education's been hijacked, and we go through the various periods in the last 100 years of education. How it truly started out. People would farm in the afternoon, but they go to school in the morning, all the way through country day, all the way through individual charter schools. And education and its application of critical thinking and leadership and competition in the classroom to excel, not just lowest common denominator passes, move them on to the next class.
Okay, now
all
hold
of
on.
that's highlighted.
Now you guys are academics. Now remember, I am a high school dropout. Okay, I did go back to college during COVID, and I was on the dean's list both times. That's true, yeah. At 68 years of
There
age.
you go.
So you guys are academics. So you understand this stuff. I mean, you both have master's degrees, okay, and you've been very privileged because of the intellect God above has given you both.
Right.
And I can see you both have humility, and I like that, And thank you. I'm glad because some people get arrogant. There's nothing worse than seeing arrogance on a person over 60. Oh my! Not knowing that our joy comes being in service of others, right? So would you explain to me?
PVIP, previously very important person.
Yeah, really, Well,
You should have seen me win.
I was in a situation too where I was a member of this club, and they said you're going to clean up this and that, and take the garbage. I'm going. I got employees. I'm aren't I somebody? I said, shut up, Rhett. Take out the garbage. And it actually felt good.
Yeah.
It's like being in the Army, which I was, and you do KP for 12 hours. You realize you're nobody.
Mike Tyson was on my show years ago, and it was we really had a good time together. But recently, I think you guys will get a kick out of this. So Mike Tyson is on. I think what's the guy's name? Not Turner, but. The guy who's
Turner broadcast.
the guy who was kicked off of Fox and has his own studio.
Oh, Tucker Carlson.
So Tucker's interviewing and said, "Do you ever get offended?" Now you watch the old videos of Mike Tyson. This guy was offended at everybody. Right?
Everybody.
By the time I met him, we got along great. We had a great time together. And he was not arrogant. So he said, "Do you ever get offended?" And he paused. This is last year. He paused and he said, "Well, only when I think I'm somebody." Now I want to let you know he's a very intelligent person, by the way. He may be from the Queens and sound like that, but I tell you, he's very. So he said, only when I get offended. So recently, it was last year, I joined the car wash out west of town where you pay one fee monthly, and you're a member. And they have regular people entry, and then they have the members only entry. So I'm a member. Now, and I was brought up affluent. I belong to the IBM Country Club. We belong to the Dutchess Golf and Country Club. We belong to the Tennis Club. I know all that crap and all those people, and with their noses up in the air. But anyway, so this lady is in the membership line, and she's using a credit card. This is for members only. You're holding up the membership here to get in there. The nerve of her, So finally, anyway, I'm going in, and I'm going to get into the car wash, right? It's about to go under, and I hear the Lord say, "Oh, so you think you're somebody, huh?" I got ticked off with my membership for a car wash.
Yeah.
Something's wrong with this guy, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, so where we were going with all this?
Well, we're taking critical thinking applied to
Would you tell
education,
us-
applied
okay,
to...
I don't really know what critical thinking is, the concept. So I'm sure there are others that are listening to this that don't know. Can you explain as you would to maybe a 12-year-old?
Well, in education, let me distinguish between being, you're educated, and when the kids are currently being educated, there's a lot more indoctrination going on. The teacher tells you, spit back what I tell you, and then you know the material. Well, thinking is saying, no, if we believe in freedom of speech, which is freedom to think and freedom to question, well, then you're freedom to speak.
So that's
okay?
very simply stated. I see what you're saying.
So if you take those things of what the freedom is all about, then you say, well, how do I speak about something? Well, I have to have a well-organized thought process, and I have to question things. And so you don't take, in science, some people say, like Fauci famously said, follow the science. Well, what an idiot, because he didn't follow any science in that statement. It's what has occurred in the pandemic was the fact that it did, proven now that it's come from the wet labs, in back in China. But in a process where we're going in critical thinking is to say you can question anything. You need to question it. If you're not questioning things, how do we know we're working towards a correct process? One of the biggest problems in life is saying, I'm going to solve this problem. Well, first off, is that the problem? It could be a symptom.
I wish you guys could have ultimately, maybe the podcast will lead to this, but a national TV show. Here's what I say. Can you imagine, like, for instance, I used to buy everything on NBC, CBS, ABC as hook, line, and sinker. Well, these are guys, they're watching out for me. I can trust journalists. And we used to have journalists, which has died slowly. Now, of course, a few years ago, I started to get critical and go, well, wait a second. They just said all this stuff and they punctuated it by punching Trump in the gut. And it was blatant. So I started the critical thinking. That's what you would say, right?
Exactly.
Now, what we could do is, you have this great big thing called critical thinking. But somebody else out there who's a moderate thinker, and maybe they just want to go through life having a happy time. But if you took maybe individual situations and we're going to have a replay of the evening news last night, folks. This is what this announcer said. This is how they framed this situation. Oh, and people go, I didn't realize that.
That's
and
the
if you start that
editorializing.
off, then they'll start to cultivate critical thinking.
Exactly.
And then we'll accomplish something.
I'll give you an example of that. In the 60s, 70s, 80s, it was eliminated under Clinton. Fred Friendly ran the Department of Communications. Yeah. It was the Fred Friendly rule. If you had somebody like Rather or Cronkite, and they would sit and they would give the news, they could not do this, they could not raise their eyes, they could not smirk. If they did, they immediately opened up the opposition to come on for similar time and have a competing voice. So you got the news, just as you described, you believed it. It was factual down to the last period. After the 1990s, can you believe this guy? I think this interview's over, please. And that is what you're getting. You're getting cable news. You're getting all sides. I'm not talking red, blue. All sides are biased. And you have no ability to judge. Hence, common sense, the system of reasoning, judgment, causality, how to logically understand the reasoning behind what they said, to dissect it.
And you'd be surprised, your local garbage collector or car mechanic people, you might not, they could and there's a lot of brilliance out there.
Oh, absolutely.
There's a lot of unrecognized genius.
Called common sense.
Yeah.
Which is what we patterned the book
Exactly.
after. Thomas Paine, 1775, 4 pamphlets, anonymous, put together, common sense, about the Declaration of Independence, about the Constitution. And we patterned this without footnotes. Look, we're going to take you through education, reason, religion, faith, values, history, corrupted as it is in your interpretation, politics, economics, and give you a primer as to common sense and why everything has been hijacked in today's world.
So how do you do, like I said, though, narrowing it down, how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time?
Well,
okay, so how do we, you can start with your podcast, but maybe taking specific situations. Even on here, you could quote, okay, this is what NBC Newsman said last night.
Right.
Sounds like the news, right? Okay, let's go back and read the words, and here's the situation. Do you see how he framed, but they punctuate at the end, and they try to, what amazes me is that, I guess we don't want to I don't want to go into Trump territory, because you guys are for everybody should be critical.
Yes.
which is true. Because maybe even I watch Fox now, and I need to wait a second. That's an unkind statement,
Oh,
or
yeah.
it's
They
taken
shaped
to
the
the
news.
extreme.
They shaped the news. I'll give you an example. Recent months, I was in London listening to Keir Starmer, Prime Minister. He gets on to his faithful Liverpool Labour Party and says, I'm living up to my promise. What was that promise, Keir? My promise was I'm going to control and cut energy costs, your monthly bill. Keir, what is your solution? My solution to everybody, and he's adamant, he's pointing his finger, we are going to cap energy bills for everyone at 300 pounds.
How do you
And,
do that?
and he riotous applause in the auditorium in Liverpool. And I'm thinking,
Because they're all into the emotions.
oh my gosh, you
Well,
destroy
that's- When emotions
infrastructure.
rule, we
You cannot
die.
control it. You
That's-
cannot cap energy. Everybody will be allowed energy. That's the absurdity.
That's what happened in New York
That's
City
why-
a few
Yes,
weeks
exactly
ago.
right.
Yeah,
They got this idiot promising we're going to have New York City grocery stores.
That's why you have to understand economics, even at a minimal level. It's required because people want things. Okay, I get wanting. People actually do need some things. Okay, that's even more important. But in the process, how does it work? The most success in the history of mankind has been created by what economic system? Capitalism. And as a function of why was it so successful? Because people are allowed to pursue their self-interest. Capitalism is the harnessing of the power of pursuit of self-interest. That's a great phrase. And and the economic system serves at the convenience of the political system. Another really good phrase, I believe. Those two phrases capture dependency, interaction, and how the functionality between political and economic systems really work. And if you grasp those two phrases, now you say, I need to delve further into this. And that's when you begin to open up your mind to realize we shouldn't be just arbitrarily saying, I like something because I heard it like Keir Starmer saying, I'm going to cap your prices. That's impossible. If the prices get so high that the utility can't produce the products, they go out of business. Well, guess what? When they're out of business, if they're a monopoly and you're out of business, there is no energy.
Churchill said it perfectly. He said the inherent vice of capitalism is the unequal sharing of blessings. These are facts of human condition. The unequal sharing of blessings. The inherent virtue of socialism is the equal sharing of misery.
Now, yeah, really.
I mean, it's fact. And we're talking socialism in a certain city in this
Read
country.
the quote again.
The quote, inherent vice of capitalism, the best system that has raised billions out of poverty in this world. The inherent vice of capitalism is the unequal sharing of blessing. Unequal. Charlie Munger, Berkshire Hathaway. I prefer inequality to poverty for all. Sounds horrific, Charlie, please. But this is what he's saying. The inherent virtue of socialism is the equal sharing of misery for all.
It is.
And
I've read the quote
we,
first.
no one wants poverty for anyone. But what is the system we're presented with? Churchill said it about democracy, and it applies to capitalism.
It's so important what you two are doing. I'm just sitting here going, okay, how do I help these guys? What can these guys do? And bringing it down to the low. I mean, what I thought was, well, maybe, renting a hall, and seriously, on weekends, on Saturdays, and inviting, who do you go for? They may be liberal because of their indoctrination, but some way you could entice professors to attend on a Saturday morning. We will give you coffee and donuts, and then we'll give you a steak dinner at lunch, and get them in there. Look, we have these think tanks, right? I have a friend, his son works for a think tank. I don't know who pays all these things, but they got millions of dollars up there in Tallahassee. It's a conservative think tank. So somebody obviously cares, but they're writing checks.
Right.
Now, you guys are probably a couple of the check writers, but now you've taken it a step further, and I applaud you, because you could be sitting, just like people don't admire Trump. He's not even accepting his paycheck. He's at the end of his life. He knows this is his last hurrah. This is the time to leave a legacy. And you guys are stepping forward while you still have your wits about you. You're young enough in your early retirement to do this. This is so important. But how do you do it?
Well, the biggest thing, like we said, the seed corn is the children. And interesting, you talked about a method of doing it.
Seed corn are the children.
Yes.
So seed corn
Seed
are
corn
the children.
are
yeah.
the children.
The children.
And
Absolutely.
the key is education.
That's what Soros knew.
Yeah.
That's why he got out of it 30 years ago and decided, I'm going to subjugate education,
others,
right?
yeah.
Well, it's an indoctrination is what he's gone into.
Exactly.
But the key in educate is the process of understanding education. This book, as in high school a semester or college a semester, it really would fit nicely into a semester's course week by week.
Yeah.
Break it down into that,
Yeah.
and discuss, review, and read, and in a seminar setting with teachers, get into the meat of what these chapters are all about. Because if you can educate the kids, they can start thinking critically, and that means not automatically accepting what a professor says
Yes.
or an authority figure says.
That's critical thinking.
It's critical
To
thinking.
criticize.
Yeah, it's not a person coming in and say, I'm the professor, I'm really smart, so spit back what I say and you'll get a good grade. Well, kids want to go to higher school. They want to get a master's degree or PhD or whatever. Well, when you're indoctrinated, but your grade is dependent upon you getting into the next grade, you're developing a habit pattern of indoctrination. It's destructive.
Yes.
It's destructive.
The right to think, question, and speak.
Yeah.
That should be in every educational door you walk through.
Well, it's the same reason why people stay in abusive relationships. Well, this is an old, comfortable shoe. And you're going through life in an old, comfortable shoe. Well, I work in the factory, and I just haven't got time to think about that. And whatever they do, they do. And, and having no idea the spin. What you said was very important, that capitalism has brought, what was it, not Reagan, Winston Churchill.
Winston Churchill.
Has brought billions out of poverty.
It has.
If you could talk to impoverished people and say, do you want to escape?
Right.
The escape route is capitalism.
Only one. Forget socialism, fascism, monarchism,
Theocracy.
communism.
Yeah.
Like in New York City, it's like dumb prevails.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the question, because when you had indoctrinated kids for a generation, and Reagan says that freedom in our republic could be lost within a generation.
Within a generation.
If you've educated kids in an indoctrinating fashion, so they're not really educated, then you've got people that are told to think certain ways, and so they're raised, I'm going to be told how to think. No. If you accept that, you're defining failure. How do we have what we have today that's working really well? Creativity. You think that came about without asking any questions? But you've got to start thinking to ask questions.
Okay, let me ask you this. So this is, we're just getting to know each other. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think out loud. I'm trying to be creative, and so I remember that a few years ago that I took everything I saw on TV as hook, line, and sinker. And maybe it was about 15, 18 years ago, maybe 20 years ago. People said, "You believe that stuff?" And of course, my wife won't even turn that stuff on. She's way ahead of me on this stuff.
Yeah.
And women usually are. It is true.
In many regards.
They're smarter.
If you're 20 and you're dating a 20-year-old, she's dating a boy.
Exactly.
You're dating a lady.
Yeah.
But nature does that.
That's
I think,
right.
because
You're
they
correct.
procreate, they have the baby. So we got to accelerate the maturing and the wisdom process in the woman, because she's going to be taking care of the offspring, and everything is done to protect the species, right?
Right.
So anyway. I don't know. I'm 1,000 things are going through my head. I'm very, very excited you're doing this. I just wonder, how do you bring it down? Remember, I told you that, let me ask you this. This was something I'd like to do. You both are academics, and we have a son who's an academic. He's got his doctorate in archaeology. This guy, he loves to read. He loves to think, I mean, this is a brilliant guy. And I admire that exceedingly. But I wanted to ask you this. So I went back to school. It was very good that I went back to college at 68, and now I'm going to be 72 in a week.
Sure.
And I only went for 2 semesters, but it shocked me when they sent me letters. I got in the dean's list twice. I never even got an A in high school. I was like, really? But I wanted to be there.
Right.
So here's the point. So what amazes me is like, okay, I could read this in your book, but it sure is a lot more fun having you two in here.
Mm-hmm.
Why? I don't know. I haven't anybody pull us apart yet. I'm sure there's somebody out there who's brilliant. Why will we spend an hour in a classroom with a professor? And even though it's a lot less information, but for some reason we listen better. What is it? The human connection? Why do we still have? I mean, tell me, if everything was about just knowledge, naked knowledge, you can get everything you want on Google or on YouTube now. And it's amazing.
Grok 4 or whatever.
Yeah, right.
But communicate.
Organization and structure. I think, education has been a process like going through college. You get hired out of college, let's say. One of the criteria is you take a bunch of courses. Now, on those courses, there's required courses, okay, and there could be some useful required courses. But there were many courses in college that weren't all that useful.
No.
We haven't even asked
Calculus,
the question.
I use it every day.
Right. We haven't even asked the question about what do the children need.
Yeah.
They need financial planning. They need to know how
You
to check
graduate
books,
from high
banks,
school and college not knowing how to
Write
reconcile a checkbook.
Exactly.
What are we doing?
There's certain basic fundamental functions that you have to do. So if you take children and say, let's outline what needs to be done. Now you in an organized structure, which was part of your question, said why do we do it this way? Well, we do it to twofold. One, to hopefully pass on good information and have good dialogue so that it really sticks with the kids because they're participating. They learn it much better than if they don't participate. So
right, like
question
reading,
is-
you watch a movie, you forget it the next day, you read a book, you invent the characters and what they look like. You're participating.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
That's why you don't teach language by just putting a German movie on.
Yeah.
Listen, you'll learn German that way.
What are they saying?
Now, that may sound simple what I'm saying though, but
Yeah.
why, and it's great. We need to use that. So
Well-
I see the education system. You guys got to get in there. So
And your archaeological son,
Yes.
correct? These are things that I think about at 3 a.m. I sound like I have a boring life.
oh, you're up then too. Was that something to do with getting older?
Some people are willing to leap into the abyss and try to explain the nonconformity in the Grand Canyon, which is hundreds of millions of years disappeared. Oh, the fossil record and the sedimentary record and sediment. No, there's 600 million years missing. How do you explain that one?
Yeah.
Some will, some won't. Sedimentation theory about everything formed through rivers and sediment, and that's how we build our Earth and so forth and so on. Well, how do you explain that in reconciliation to 100-foot trees that could only have been
Vertically.
fossilized, vertical, in Canada, 50 sites around the world, could only happen in a matter of hours? A 100-foot tree was filled with sediment. How do you explain that? I'm not challenging your son. I'm saying there are
I
things
saw
to
that
think about.
documentary where they're saying it actually came in, like these things came in sometimes in a day.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. These are things
Totally contrast to what we've been thinking.
and so that focuses you on,
Makes
hey,
you question
maybe go back
things.
to reason, judgment, causality. All of these things apply to critical thinking, and let your mind figure out why is this not true?
Don't be a slave. How do you do this? To young people say, do you want to be a slave to someone else? When you're just taking hook, line, and sinker, what these people are saying, you don't know if they're evil or good. Hook, line, you need to learn what's critical thinking. Critical thinking is thinking for yourself.
Exactly.
I never really used that term in life, but you guys brought it to me today. Now I get it. Being critical, being criticizing, thinking for yourself, watching the evening news and going, wait a second, what they just said there is not plausible.
Right.
Well, and now I'd like
Think,
to
question, speak.
yes.
Think, question, speak.
Well, I'd like to bring it into what I think in terms of society's development, and that one of the fundamentals in my mind is Rousseau and the social contract. Now, what is Rousseau's social contract? Basically, Rousseau said is my interpretation is that we enter into a society, and by accepting participation in the society, we're also accepting a contract. That contract says that society has its laws, rules, regulations, and for the protection of the society that I live under these rules, I will enter into this contract and be a constructive participant in this society. Well, now what is the choice? Well, do I want to go over into another geographical area and play in Darwinism such that the most powerful person wins? No, I want some control. So if I've got something, it can't be taken away from me. I want to create some things, but I don't want to fear what other people will do.
Society needs to protect us a bit
Yeah,
from ourselves, even.
right. And so over history's development of man, he developed into organizations, communities, currently to the nations that we have. But Rousseau wrote this back in the 1700s. If you understand the social contract, which I think is a great explanation of the process, you're making a commitment. And that commitment says not only do I accept protection, but I accept to live under those rules and regulations. However, in thinking critically, I may believe that some of the rules, regulations, laws are not proper. And so therefore there are mechanisms within numerous constitutions, maybe not all if they're an autocracy, but a method that we can change that to improve things.
So it's a living organism that adjusts and modifies, hence republic, hence Declaration of Independence, hence our Constitution, hence our Bill of Rights. All of those are changing and respond. The issue is they don't respond very well if nobody's thinking critically.
So I'm just a million things are going through my head. So I'm wondering, now you both have good voices. I'm into showbiz. I'm into marketing. I had a marketing firm in upstate New York. So you two both have very good voices, both good presentation. And here I'm thinking, let's put you in, let's get you over to the Emerson Center on a Saturday, fill all the seats, or go to a different town, go to Wisconsin and advertise it. And we have a local, all local educators are welcome to come to this. We're going to give you a beautiful continental breakfast and to stay for a lunch and then go home on a Saturday. I don't know how you draw them in. And then I think, well, now I have to be careful because I can understand you guys. I want to make sure that we objectively, I'm just thinking out loud. So I was thinking, well, get them to go in there and do that. I said, well, but these are two intellectual guys. How will they handle it live? You both are good speakers, but I was thinking, boy, wouldn't it be great if this interview we did today was in front of a live audience? Mm-hmm. And I'm playing the everyman because I am the everyman and ask these questions. Sure. But if we can birth critical thinking into people, we have nothing to fear.
Nothing.
No.
I mean,
it's respect for your fellow human.
Yeah. And if
I've got a question, you give me a good answer, I learn. I start most of my phrases when I want to discuss something, so I hate committing to being wrong. Yeah. So my technique to avoid that as best I can is to start off with saying I could be wrong, but
But you decided you weren't.
That's good.
The only time you were wrong is you weren't wrong.
yeah, exactly. But what that allows me to do is present my information, but you never have perfect information. You never have all the information. If you don't have all the information, that means if you introduce something to me now, based after I've said what my theory is and my thought process is, I can change my mind because I could be wrong. But here's my information. You introduce some new information. Oh, that causes me to make an adjustment. I didn't embarrass myself. I said I could be wrong. I'm open-minded. So the process of indoctrination is closing one's mind. The process of education, critical thinking, is open one's mind. You're not committed to being right. You're committed to understanding more. And that is...
Ben Carson said it as head of housing.
Love that guy. I interviewed his wife. Her first radio interview she ever had.
He is so brilliant.
Yeah.
Oh my word.
And he said that we've been trained to think politicians can solve our problems. But then he said, at some point we wake up and recognize the politicians created our problems. Now, there's nothing more basic than that. We offloaded our ability to think critically. Politicians solved my problem.
Well, you know why? Oh, well, I voted for him. Let them take care of it. I just want to go out and go bowling and eat popcorn in front of a movie theater or something. I just want to enjoy life. And no, it's a participatory a sport,
Unless you can save it. Yeah. Our republic, unless we can save it.
Everybody's got a responsibility, and voting is a big responsibility. But the integrity of the vote is incredible. How a politician can say you need a ID to come and attend my event, but you don't need an ID to vote. The inconsistency is incredible. And I think that one of the useful tests for critical thinking is litmus tests. One of the questions is something consistent? If it's not consistent, it's not good. Okay, it's got to sustain itself for a long time. So, is it sustainable? Is it consistent? And when you're dealing with those concepts, they are good tests to say If I have a problem and I identify the real problem and I create a real solution, the first things I say is this sustainable? Does this put the proper incentive and motivation system in front of our fellow citizens so that without supervision, they behave properly within society and are beneficial to all of society? So analysis of incentive and motivation is critical to critical thinking. Sustainability is a great litmus test question.
Well, and to your point, people listening, car washers, people take the trash, they do have common sense. They know how it works.
Sometimes.
And they need to, at times, step back and say, I think I'm right on this, but they're telling me I'm wrong. Well, they're smarter. They must be right. I'm wrong. No,
not necessarily.
Logic, reasoning, understanding the common sense that God gave you.
Yeah, common sense.
That is critical,
huge,
and that
huge.
needs to be sponsored. And
Well, I'm working on a book right now about dignity. And because I realize that if I hold the door open for you at the post office, and you feel good, you say, hey, you're a gentleman and a scholar. We've all had that.
Right.
Oh, it feels so good, But let's say the person doesn't even thank you. It doesn't matter. The moment you dignify someone else by putting them first.
No.
So I've been thinking about this, and I got a gazillion things going through my head. Okay, so I would consider myself arrogant in certain ways that I'm blind to in this. Now, I've been on the radio 32 years, and I'm a numbskull everyman, and I've been invited to speak places, but I've never hired a speechwriter because I think I know what I'm doing. Now, if this book comes out and it's successful, I better humble myself and hire a speechwriter. So what I'm getting at here, and I'm not judging you guys, but maybe that's what you guys need to do too. Is how do you bring this down succinctly? How do you make a reduction out of it? Like you make a good reduction over a steak, okay? And how do you reduce it so you can come out, you got to start with your humor, that, and then you got to do this, and so it's very palatable to the general public. This is really important.
It's only.
I'm sitting. I know Jack Canfield and the other guy, Mark Victor Hansen, starts Chicken Soup for the Soul. You ever hear of those books?
Yeah,
Okay, sold billions of copies. Okay, so they've been very successful. I see you two. At this point, it's less attractive because they have dramatic stories in there. But how maybe a great speechwriter would get you guys out there if you can plant the seed of critical thinking and change our youth. Even if we got 10%, we got 5%.
Well, you need leaders. And so
that's what you two are.
So
but how do we get your message out there?
Well,
the book's a great thing.
The
It's
book's only 109 pages long, but it's got
appendices.
Appendices.
Okay.
And the appendices are
a simple
numbered
read.
to match the chapters.
Good font. Very thing. I've been in this business
Yeah,
30 years.
there you go.
Good font.
And we hired
Love the
people to
smell
help
of
us.
the new book.
They helped us. We hired people to help it make it more
This is
readable.
brilliant the way they did this.
Yep.
Somebody knows what they're doing here because these are things that I've told people over the years. You do the highlighting and you do the very well done. Now, I have not read this. It was just handed this to me today, folks.
It's 109 pages, but the appendices are It's a different setup. The appendices aren't just here reference things. They support chapters, so they're numbered by chapter. It's like if there's something to critical thinking, which is chapter 1. The appendices that apply to chapter 1 are 1A, B, C, D. Chapter 5 are 5A, B, C, D. Some of the chapters actually don't have any appendices. But if you read through and read it through quickly at 109 pages, then you go back and read a chapter and go look at the appendices that support that and have some information that you might want to think about referring to the qualities
Don't
of that
zip through the
chapter.
book. Then it's going to take a few lines and then digest it, chew on it.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is a little bit of a slower read, but doing just what you're saying. But then utilize the appendices actually reinforce things quite well. There's two speeches by Milei from Argentina in there, and he's brilliant. I mean, he's turning around Argentina. I just hope he's successful. Argentina was like one of the wealthiest countries in the
100
Americas.
years ago.
100 years ago. And due to Peronism, they ruined, which is socialism, they ruined the country economically. And that's all due to socialism. The politicians say, what do you want? I'll give you something. Well, when they're giving you something, they're taking it from somebody, and eventually they're taking it from you too.
Yep.
So what people should be saying about the politicians, don't tell me what you're going to give me. Tell me how efficiently you're going to spend my money, because I want it spent efficiently so you don't ask for more. Matter of fact, you can find that you don't need as much.
So let me ask you this: you both are dads.
Yes.
Okay. So let me ask you this: how did you two could both very successful men? You could have taken your energies and directed them inward. We've seen how ugly that is. You guys obviously have directed. Now, the reason I bring up the father thing is because death to self. If you're going to be a good parent, you got to die to self, right? 1,000 deaths. So how did that? I wonder how that happened. I got to get to know you guys, but how you both managed to do this. This is just so dang important now. At this point of your life, you could be indulging yourself and going fishing or playing golf. But
For me, decades and decades and decades ago, I'd make it a practice to get alone, take an hour, take a half hour, take a day, and figure out, why did I get up this morning? What propelled me to get up? And more importantly, what am I going to do today? Why am I here? And I'd write out and I'd document why I was here. And the long and the short of it, synthesized reduction,
yes,
was I'm here to serve. I'm here to serve my client.
There you go.
I'm here to serve my family. I'm here to serve my Lord.
well, Jesus
I'm
said
here to serve.
the greatest among you shall be
serve,
the servant of the
serve.
rest.
And
Here to give back.
that's how I.
And it's a secret.
What?
People don't get it. It's more fun to serve.
What are the people? You're choosing to pursue life, liberty, and happiness. Okay, great. But what is happiness? Happiness is internally defined. Success is externally defined. How many times have you had someone say, if you do this, you're a success. You ought to do that. That'd be successful. All this other stuff. Well, pursuing any of those careers, which ones actually are going to make you happy? Well, that's knowing yourself. It's not doing something to please other people. It's doing it. But then if you develop, and we've all made mistakes, we've all sinned, we've all, got things that we're not proud of in our life. But in the process of developing, evolving, if you look into it and you begin to come to grips with religion and Jesus and in our form, there are other forms of religion, but you then start saying it is serving others. And so this book was an attempt. We didn't care whether this is commercially successful or not. In capitalism, if you do something really good, the market responds, and yeah, you may make some money. But the art of creativity of what you care about, like an artist, whether it's an artist or a musician, and other forms of artists, they're doing something because they love it. Well, if you love something, then you want to. Your purpose is to give it to people, and if the market recognizes it, which is capitalism, then you can get rewards for it. Well, that's allowing people having talent to use their talents, but getting rewarded for it. Now, is the market perfect? You take a nation of 350 million people and say everything's going to work perfectly. We can cite example after example of something wasn't fair. But when you put laws, rules, regulations in place, you're trying to address the quantity of people, not an individual. So when one person feels cheated, you go like, okay, we can improve that. So what do we do to the system to change that and improve that? So you social contract, you get involved and try and make some changes. But in the interim, we're here as an evolutionary process. So you experienced a problem, but our solution may not be in place until after you're gone. But you got to accept that because you're part of society, and there's 350 million people here. How do we make it better?
It's living and breathing and morphing.
There was a great deal of pleasure in writing this over 3 years because we got a lot of fun out of it. We were serving a purpose.
But it also crystallized.
And it
these
crystallized
things
it.
in your mind.
You think of Harry Potter and you think of Rowling, and she got turned down 10, 12, 15 times over years.
She was
had
turned down to
nothing.
go to college. She was living
She had
off the
nothing.
yeah,
She had
nothing.
She had
living off the dole.
Yeah, living off the dole in England. You're right.
Yeah.
And she had something in her. Not I'm going to be successful, perhaps, but enough that she said, "I love this story. I am not changing this story. This is my story about what I think is important." And she pursued it. And it didn't matter about here's $1 million or $5 million or whatever. That just came.
I think Harry Potter is a $15 billion industry unto itself.
She's
Exactly.
made huge amounts of money.
15 billion.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
I was just reading about her this very morning.
Dyson, he's a Brit, invented that Dyson vacuum
Vacuum
cleaner.
stuff, yeah.
He had a concept. He didn't make it. He was an engineer. He's having a nice life. He paid the rent and so forth and so on. And suddenly he gives
He solves the
billions
problem.
of dollars a year away in his foundation throughout England to encourage, in many respects, primarily, encourage other engineers to come and be taught for free, educate for free, to do what he's wanted. Now, that was his pleasure. He didn't do it, I'm going to make a fortune off this vacuum and suck up dirt. He didn't think that way.
You know, so I was up on the Blue Mountain Ridge Parkway maybe a few years ago. And back years ago when we were all younger, there was some guy who made a lot of money in insurance. And it was like they were all advertising everywhere, come join this insurance company, and they exploded. And I don't know if it was multi-level, and it has since gone away. But I'm driving on the parkway, and all of a sudden I come upon this park, and I pull in the park so we can. I had an RV at the time. Pull over, make sandwiches. You don't have and this park was that guy bought that land and gave it as a park. And I said, look at that. The only thing left of all that success they had was what he gave. Because even the Hindus say what is given is gain, what is kept is lost
Correct.
forever.
Interesting. That's an interesting
Yeah.
phrase.
So in other words, inspiring other people who are sitting there in the doldrums, or there's a guy billionaire on the beach I know of from his doctor, and she told me he sits there, he drinks all day long. Not really, he's being robbed of the thing he could go out and give.
Right.
Give.
You know, even in the Bible it says, "Give unto others,
Right.
and your light will rise out of the darkness like the
Agreed.
noonday sun."
Yeah.
Agreed.
So anyway, it's a nice new beginning with you guys.
Thank you
We're out
very
of time
much
for
for
today.
this
I hope
opportunity.
you enjoyed as much as I did.
absolutely.
The only thing is my head is swimming with all these ideas, so I got to let the dust settle. You let the dust settle. Let's move forward with what we're going to do.
Okay.
And do that. And what I want you to do is when you come in here and you do your stuff together, talk. Don't feel you have to or make up the rules and the regulations first. Get the blah 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 blah, and for the first month, and then try to simmer down, and then when the dust starts to settle, let's figure out how to market this thing. Of course, I'm sitting here thinking, well, how can I get in the middle of this? I'm sorry, I'm a businessman.
That's right. We're all businessmen.
Just don't you forget me, you guys.
That's right.
Look where it
That's right.
started.
Yeah. Well, you know what? But thinking's valuable.
Well, that's and
I
you're
wanna-
thinking.
And if I'm a hidden partner back here and I can help you guys in some way, or if I have to do it altruistically and not get a thing,
we'll figure it
that's
out.
okay too.
We'll figure it out.
But I want to help you. You know, I'm just a small town guy. Though,
Thank you so
I'm
much.
I'm not a big
Well,
shot, but-
everybody starts, right?
yeah.
Where's anything?
I've been starting
You
for
started
32
somewhere.
years.
32-year
enjoying
overnight
it.
success story.
Well, if
Yeah.
some of these people knew who I was. I remember Doris Kearns Goodwin. She's still alive. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So she's on the phone with me. She doesn't know I'm a high school dropout. You know?
She
I got
finally
an eighth grade
recommended
diploma.
Brett Baer's book.
I got an eighth grade diploma. So anyway, so I interview her, and at the end of it, she goes, "This was a great interview." I was like, "If you only knew who I was," you know what I'm saying? So we all have hidden
Well, it's
talents.
humbleness, and being humble is a very excellent trait.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
like I'm not here to puff the chest out and say that I've done this stuff and everybody ought to appreciate it. No, I had a co-pilot that questioned me on many, many things, and I would just give him my answers best I could.
Yeah.
He's now vice president of flight at American Airlines, and but we had great discussions, and it wasn't like he had to take something I said and it had to be right. It was like, this is what I think, this is why I think it, and
Too bad you couldn't get those you could give a free speech at the next convention. But then again, a speech writer that succinctly well, you get the pilots thinking.
Sure.
They have intelligent children.
Sure.
Did you know Gary? What's Gary's last name? He was a captain for your airline. He lived around here, married a girl, but after a year they broke right up. And I don't know if what is Gary's last name? It doesn't really matter. We have a lot of pilots that are retired around here.
yeah,
now.
sure.
We have more Fortune 500 retired CEOs than any zip code in the United States of America, which is good because
The resources,
well, yeah, people that can help propel this.
Exactly.
Whatever.
right? Yeah,
So
Sounds good.
it's all good.
I wonder if we can get you to be invited to speak up at John's Island this season. No, seriously, that would
Well,
be good.
We'd love to.
You
We're
got
speaking at
connections,
Quail.
yeah,
so.
yeah.
Oh, you are.
Yeah,
Great.
in March. Yeah.
Okay. I also see, and I don't know. Maybe you don't need me, but maybe you do need me.
Oh, I think we
to
need
make
anybody who's willing
well,
to help.
the thing is, I'm like the sugar that makes the medicine go down.
Yeah.
In other words, we get in front of an audience, and you guys come at them only intellectually. You're going to reach a lot of people, but you're also going to turn some people off. Where you got a regular common man who's there asking, being inquisitive. Suddenly, it brings
Right,
it to
you're
a
absolutely. It's all about a team process, and
Yeah.
people are selfish. So, it's all in for me. Well, the question is, can you create something that everybody feels that they've been treated fairly?
And you know what else? You got how old are you? 74. How old are you?
74.
Oh, you too? Okay, and I'm 72. So right now, though, what's the number one thing you two need to do is duplicate yourself and a few others that get the fire. So when you leave the earth, you've left behind some other people that have taken this on.
That's the reason for education book, and if that gets into coursework at college or
but
even
would they
high school,
allow it?
Well,
We're trying. We're trying.
That's why I just read recently where people are schools are losing students to homeschooling, and why is that? Well, you've got Randy Weingarten, who may be the worst impact on education ever, in my opinion, in that they're for indoctrination. They're for taking the teachers and making sure that that they get these advantages, as opposed to focusing on the students, and then also being concerned about the teachers. I'm all for that, but the product is what's important, which is the student. And if you do something that and focuses on the teacher, wait a second, why are we focusing on the teacher? Let's focus on the kids.
Let's get a young Charlie Kirk reading this.
Exactly.
Yeah,
We sent him.
exactly.
That was
tried
going
to
in the
send
mail
them.
the week he was assassinated.
Yeah.
How
We pulled
about
it.
how about why don't we get in touch with what's an intern what's the name of his company?
Turning Point.
Turning
Turning
Point.
point.
I sent it. We sent a letter to
we
them.
sent
We
them
sent the
one,
book
but-
and the letter.
but
Maybe
we
make
lose-
them available to their groups.
If you've got connections where we send things out and people get stuff and they go like, oh, what is that? And they've got no connection. But if someone recommends something, then there's a
leadership.
higher value to it.
Yes.
And so I said, well, it's a filter. And and someone says, I don't have time for everything, but this person who I trust says they ought to read this, then there's a
You're
potential.
trying to empower people. The
Right.
important thing, of course, is to let Democrats. Maybe we're not, but maybe does this stay clean from the left and the right?
Totally clean.
Well,
See, that's very important
it's
because
a-
the Democrats want to know this critical
Yeah.
thinking too, because then they
should.
can pull apart Fox. Well, what about Fox? Well, they said this and this.
They
Well, I
should.
never realized that was wrong. But we also see this on NBC, and they were.
We don't get that
That's
specific.
why
We
the
talk
ja-
about the
that's why the
concepts.
jacket is
But-
red and blue.
So this is valuable to
Exactly.
both sides equally. Everybody should
That's
learn
correct.
critical thinking and get out of the emotional crap, because emotions are what ruin marriages.
Yeah, it's
Emotions
not-
are what
it's-
bring down business.
Yes,
Emotions are what brings
exactly.
failure.
Emotion versus logic.
Emotions are fun, but we coddle them and we get in trouble. Okay, gentlemen, anyway, so pick up a copy of this book. I'm Rhett Palmer. See you next week.